Yo, it's your boy Billy, and today we're just gonna be doing yet another My Hero What If. This is what if Deku had Renji powers. Basically, Renji is basically a character that I made up, and he has his own powers, so yeah. And Deku is gonna have these powers, and they're technically not gonna be a quirk. So Deku would basically be told that he doesn't have a quirk at 4, but with him knowing that he still wants to become a hero, he would still want to train, and that's what he does. He trains to the point where, he's physically stronger than, physically stronger than kids, and even some grown people. So, he's pretty strong physically, but, he can still lose to somebody with a quirk, and that's what he hates the most. So when Deku is pretty much walking through the tunnel, he would basically be attacked by the sludge villain, and when the sludge villain attacks him, Deku has nothing. He can't do anything until everything goes foggy and he sees a man with wearing all black with two swords on the back of his shoulder, or the back of him, and basically he has two chains in his hand with white glowing eyes. Then the man lights on fire and moves so fast unseeable to the eyes of a human. And just in the blink of an eye, you can see that the sludge villain is burnt to a crisp. And the man would lift up his mask and reveal his face, and he would say, "Come with me if you want power." And basically, they would teleport to a volcano, and this volcano can basically give you powers. You just have to think. You actually have to be 100% brave enough that you will survive, and it will give you powers. If you're not, you're basically dead. But since Deku can win a fight hand-to-hand combat, and he's not as bullied, but people still pay attention that he probably can't become a hero. And so he would have some confidence in himself, so he would believe that he would not die if he jumped into the volcano. So, hoping that he would not die and believing that he wouldn't, he would basically jump in the volcano, and just with a split second, he would just wake up again. And he would wake up, and he would get up, and he would see the man, and he says, "Now to train you." And that's pretty much where the 10 months of training, starts. And Deku would basically learn his powers. Basically, his powers being teleporting with fire, and it's basically a fire power. And Deku can change the heat to blue, which is the hottest fire. And Deku can even something that Renji literally just made up and told Deku to try to train for, which was black smoke. That's what he calls it, and it's basically fire that is fully black, and it is supposed to be as hot as Amaterasu. So it's pretty much some godly flames. And Deku is pretty much he can already take one for all at this point. Like, he would be able to take one for all before he even met Renji. So Deku would basically fake him for the training, because once you go into the volcano for your training, you pretty much have a day, like it's a couple of hours in the real world, but he really kind of just spent a whole 10 months training for 10 months training in the fire limbo. Basically, in the volcano, once you go in there, it's basically a fire limbo, and you're basically in there, and it kind of slows down time to the point where 11 months would be just 3 hours. So when time resumes and they get out, and Deku goes back home, and Deku is pretty much excited for for the time that he gets to basically go to UA. And Deku would basically, come home and tell his mom that, he has a quirk. That's what he'll be calling it for now. And Deku's mom would basically be like, yeah, well, what is it? And he would say fire. And no, she would believe him because, that's Sasashi's quirk, fire, breathing. But it seemed like it evolved so he can use it all over his body. And he can ignite weapons and anything he wants. So Deku can also control smoke and anything with fire. So if you were to put, like, he can control anything that's fire. So if you were to, like, if you were to be burned by his fire, he would have full control over your body, basically. And, Deku basically tells mom about, how he can use it. And she's like, oh, that's cool. And, they would time skip for the 10 months, I guess. He's pretty much walking to school. And, bro, he walks to school and he doesn't trip. He don't trip. Or if he did, he would just, teleport. And so he doesn't really trip, and he doesn't meet Uraka that way. So he does go through the entrance exam, and he goes for the entrance exam and does the written test pretty easily. And during the practical exam, when he out in front of the gate, he does have like a jacket on. And this jacket is, white with black flames on it, like at the bottom. And basically, it has, red letters on the back that says Renji. And this would catch Ida's eye, and Ida's like, so you already have a costume? And Deku says, no, it's just something I do. And, and once the gate opens, he would literally ignite in fire and basically fly off and basically speed rush fly. And basically, with his fire powers, he can basically use his backbones to, well, they pretty much become wings. And he just starts flying. Like, bro, he just starts flying with fire wings. And he's just going through it. And he can even make his own fire objects, something that Deku made up himself. So he pretty much makes a fire sword, and it pretty much shreds right through multiple robots. And Deku is pretty much... Okay, I had to take a break, but, he is pretty much flying through these robots. He has a sword with him and, dragon. Basically, and at this point, he can do whatever he fucking wants. People are amazed by his power, especially, the people, especially, the heroes. Like, what? What is this power? And, he's pretty much doing, he's doing this pretty easily. And Deku, and, it just has a whole bunch of boost to everything. See, Deku, if you train with, well, basically Renji, or any of the characters from Totem Pole, it's basically, you'd basically gain their powers too, without them losing it. So they would have, enhanced strength, which Deku already had pretty good strength. And, he had, enhanced speed, enhanced intelligence. And, Deku would just basically be a better Deku. And Deku is just beating up these robots easy. And at this point, he has a good, 79 points. So he just sits out for a little bit and lets other people get more points. And, honestly, when he sees the 0-pointer and the ground shakes and people are running towards him, and Ida even runs past him and looks at him like, what is this kid doing? And he would even stop and try to bring, Deku with him. And Deku would just look at it with this look of excitement, basically. Because you kind of morph in to the person you trained as, because when Renji is basically in in a lot of trouble, like basically if something bad is gonna happen, like a fight with a god or something, like with a demon or something, some anime stuff, some villain from an anime will just come up to Renji, start trying to fight him. He would basically get excited because he's about to clap their cheeks. So he would just make pretty much make a scythe, which is why Renji is literally the Fire Reaper. That's why he looks like this. And he pretty much would make a scythe, and he would make a scythe, and it's, instead of it being, it's golden. It's a golden scythe, which that's the main characters of Totem Pole. They would all have golden weapons. So he would have a golden scythe, and he would just basically put it over his shoulder, and he would jump up and pretty much light it on fire, and literally cut the 0 pointer in half. Then look, he's just gonna fly down, put the scythe away, and pick up the rubble and just carry Uraraka. And Deku is pretty much gonna and just carry Uraraka to Recovery Girl. So Deku just pretty much leaves and says bye to Uraraka, and now they kind of know each other. So he would just leave, and Deku would go home, and he would think that he made it in. He had it all, and Deku would basically go and go and sit and think about, did he do good or not, and he would chop it up to her friend doing pretty good. Days later, he would get the envelope that he pretty much got in, and the next day he would be walking in, and he's still wearing his jacket because that just is what it is, bro. That's the jacket. And Deku would just walk inside the class, not really giving a fuck, and he would just walk inside the class, and as soon as Ida tried to talk to him, he says, Ida would try to talk to him, but Deku would just says, nah, I'm not really about that. I'm not gonna talk to you right now. And that's when Uraraka would basically come up to him, and attention is on him because that's the kid who did all that crazy shit. Plus, now he got Uraraka is over there trying to talk to him now. So yeah, Uraraka basically says, yeah, thank you for saving me and all that stuff. And damn, now I'm getting the characters mixed up. Now Deku would basically say, yeah, no problem. And I'm just gonna add something else. If you get trained by one of them, you get trained by Renji or any of the other characters, you would basically, like, with the power, it would basically leave a little bit of a fucking conscience with you. So basically, if you're ever in a situation when you don't know what to decide on something, Renji would basically go and talk to him inside of his brain. So it's kind of weird, but it is what it is. And Deku pretty much just says, yeah, it's no problem. And that's when Aizawa would basically tell him to shut up and go outside. Once they do, Deku would just teleport outside. And Deku ain't wearing no PE clothes, bro. He got the drip on. And Deku's like, yee. And what's his name? Aizawa. Yeah, Aizawa. He would pretty much give him the ball, and Deku would just say, and he would pretty much throw the ball, like he would throw the ball, and he would just get infinity with no, like he didn't light up in fire. He just threw the ball. Like that's how powerful he actually is, because Renji is a fucking god. I mean, when the show starts off, he's a demigod, basically being 50% god. But then he gets his demon powers. Then he gets his full god powers. So he's just a full 100% god, and no one's beating God. So Deku would pretty much go and get first place on everything. And people are like, nah, this ain't fair. Bakugo's angered. Bakugo doesn't even know Deku at this point. Because Bakugo and Deku didn't go to the same school. Because Deku, I don't want them to go to the same school. And Deku would just say, when Mineta and, I guess you can say Mineta and Bakugo asked how he got so strong. And Deku would say, training. And not really giving an answer. And Deku, later on in the day, All Might would pretty much come and talk about the hero versus villains test. And since he piques interest in Renji, and or not Renji, but Deku, he piques interest in Renji's powers, which Deku has right now. So he would basically say, Azuka Midoriya, can you come over here? I have to ask you something. And basically outside of the class, he would ask him and say, how powerful do you think you actually are? And Deku would basically say, enough to beat you, basically enough to destroy Earth. And Omar was like, okay, you're capping, I'm just gonna put you against the whole class. And, he just says, okay. Because at this point, he's calm and collected. He doesn't care, but, when he does get inside the building and he finally gets attacked on the first floor by Mineta and Bakugo, because since Deku was never at Bakugo's middle school, he never had anybody to try to stop him, so he just has a bigger, more ego. And Deku would just, take Bakugo's, smoke and basically put it against him, basically covering his eyes, so he can't see and he can't do anything, and it would lock up his hands. So now Deku would just take care of Mineta by just basically taking his pop off his head and just not really taking it off his head, but just grabbing it and just burning him alive. And just beating up the rest of the students right there, like Mina. Mina can't do shit to him. He would basically knee her in the face. He would got nothing. And he would just go up to the third floor where Ida, Tokoyami, and Uraraka is there. And Uraraka says, yeah, I lost. And he gets through the first people. I'm done. And he basically capture Uraraka and go after Ida. Ida would turn a corner and try to reciprocal burst Deku as soon as he comes around the corner. But Deku would teleport to the side of him, grab his leg, break it, and throw him to the other side, and just smile at him and say, yeah, what's up? And he would just walk out, and Deku would basically see Tokoyami trying to use Dark Shadow while he's in just the weirdest corner. Like, that's where the real shadow is. But Tokoyami doesn't have no control over it, so Deku can just easily beat him. So Deku would just go up to the other floors, beat other fodder students, and he would get to Todoroki, Jiro, and Kirishima and Kirinarmi and Momo. And he would see these students and he says, give up. And give up like Uraraka did. That's basically what he just said. And Todoroki would just say no and use his ice, which renders all of his teammates fucking useless because they can't move. So Deku would basically say, you just made this 10 times easier. Like, I don't know how you didn't notice that my power is fire. And Todoroki would just widen his eyes like, Nani, I hate fire. And he would basically make this chain. He would basically have this, he's not making a chain. He's making, his fucking scythe. And it's a golden scythe. And all he's gonna do, he basically is gonna throw the scythe at Todoroki. And whatever Todoroki does, it is what it is. And Todoroki would try to catch the scythe like a fucking dumbass. Like, what the fuck? And basically, as soon as he catches the scythe, Deku can teleport to it, kick him outside of the room, then touch the bomb and easily, get first place. And and Deku will just unfreeze all the ice and just says, Todoroki, come on. Wow, you just had to do it, bro. You did it to yourself. And, he would pretty much just walk out of there. And, instead, one of the Class 1B students would explain why Deku was the MVP. And, well, he was already the MVP because he worked alone. But he just basically explaining how much a god he is. And, later on, for, the last couple of minutes of the day, 15 minutes of the days left, Aizawa and All Might would basically tell him and the other students about, how USJ is gonna be the next day, and the UA Sports Festival is gonna be in about 2 weeks. So yeah, get ready for that and train. And after you basically explain that they have 2 weeks to train for the UA Sports Festival after the USJ. And not really knowing about anything about to go down, they would eventually time skip to the next day of the USJ, and Deku in the class would basically, they'll be in the USJ and looking around, and that's when a portal will open. And Shigaraki would have his little dialogue between Aizawa and Shigaraki as they're basically battling it out. And other students are being, basically teleported to different places. But Deku be basically about to be teleported, he would teleport in the teleport and come behind Karagiri and basically smoke him. Kind of funny that he smoked too. So basically, he would use his little smoke ability to basically, capture him in a huge cascade of smoke, and now he can't move or use his quirk. That means Shigaraki is totally fucked. That's when he brings out the Nomu and it destroys Aizawa, and Shigaraki would tell the Nomu to fucking kill the kid. And that's when Deku would just look at him, and the other students are about to see him die. Basically, it looks, and he would basically punch him 5 times. Not Deku. Deku would not punch him, but the Nomu would punch Deku 5 times, and Deku just didn't move. He didn't bleed. He didn't act like anything happened. And he says, "Okay, it's my turn." And he would basically light his fist on fire and literally punch a hole through his stomach and slice up. And basically, you can't fucking regenerate without a brain, because a brain helps you heal anyway. So with regeneration, it wouldn't work. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna end it off, and bye.